Mr. Barrett for 5, please. Minister, today Canada's first Indigenous Justice Minister and Attorney General, Jody Wilson-Raybould, who, as you know, was fired from cabinet by Mr. Trudeau for speaking out against and trying to stop his attempted obstruction of justice. She issued a statement online, and it said, "A prime minister committed to true reconciliation would have removed Randy and the other Randy from cabinet long ago. Instead, we get to watch white people play ancestry Wheel of Fortune. So shameful and extremely destructive." Do you agree with that characterization?
What I would say is that Indigenous identity is any use of Indigenous identity in a fraudulent way undermines Indigenous people.
Okay, so we have a member of your cabinet, a member of your caucus, who a 50% owner of a company that claimed to be wholly Indigenous owned, applied for government contracts under that false pretense. To dispense with the pleasantries, Randy Boissonnault lied about who he is in order to profit, and in doing so, attempted to disenfranchise legitimate and actual Indigenous-owned businesses. Do you think that that is appropriate? And if you don't think it's appropriate, do you think that he should remain in cabinet?
What I would say is that GHI, the company in question, was never on the Indigenous Business Directory.
Right, and so they applied.
I cannot, for example, weigh in on what decision points were made when GHI was awarded contracts. And so I can tell you, though, with very high degree of confidence that he was not on the list.
He wasn't
defined indigeneity.
So he wasn't on the list. We know that he has previously said that he was Indigenous. He is now saying that he is not. So we know that he applied for a contract saying he was Indigenous. And this is the point that Ms. Wilson-Raybould has made. And it certainly undermines reconciliation. Would you agree that a cabinet minister claiming indigeneity to win government contracts and remaining in cabinet undermines the government's stated goal of reconciliation?
Well, I think Mr. Boissonnault's statement is on record, but what I can say is what I've just said, which is I think that when people utilize false claims of indigeneity, it's extremely harmful to Indigenous people, and it's extremely harmful to the process of reconciliation.
So thank you for that. Unfortunately, the Prime Minister, Mr. Trudeau, said this morning, "I'm happy that he, Randy Boissonnault, is continuing to lead on issues around jobs and employment and represent Alberta in our government." So you agree that it's harmful. The Prime Minister doesn't. So do you agree or do you disagree with the Prime Minister with his delight that Mr. Boissonnault, who is a fraudster, is continuing to represent Alberta in the government of Canada, in your cabinet, all the while attempting to disenfranchise Indigenous individuals and Indigenous-owned businesses?
Well, I think what is important here is that it's not up to me or any other person to police people's indigeneity. And so for me, this isn't about...
Minister, he said it's not for you to police. He said he lied. So he's the one who said he lied. You know that he lied. And you just need to have the moral clarity to say that what he did was wrong. It undermines reconciliation. And that type of fraud is unacceptable in your government. The rest of my time to Mr. Genis.
Are there any instances of companies facing consequences for Indigenous identity fraud that you can identify?
I don't think I can answer that question.
Okay, I'll go to something else, but if you could provide us with a list afterwards of any instances of companies that have been faced consequences for Indigenous identity fraud and what those consequences would be. It's been reported that Randy Boissonnault's claims that his great-grandmother was Cree, that those claims were false. Those were claims that he personally made in the House of Commons. They have now been revealed to be false. Do you have any comment on that?
My comment stands. The issue of indigeneity, is not for me to determine who is Indigenous, but that in general, claims
Okay,
of indigeneity
Chair, and
that are
just
false
in
are
the, in
very
the, in the seconds I
harmful to
have
Indigenous
left,
peoples.
the minister in the last round referenced the Office of Supplier Integrity and Compliance as being able to answer certain questions that she has not able to answer. I wonder if there'd be agreement for us to hear from the Office of Supplier Integrity and Compliance at some point to help shed some further light on these things.
Is going to be in agreement? That is